Hey everybody, welcome to Thursday, episode 127 of Is This Thing Working? How you doing today, Denise?
I am awesome. I am so glad to be with everybody here today. We're going to have a heavy show today, but guess what we're going to do? We're going to keep it light.
Yeah.
And kind of make fun of some of this stuff because there's a lot going on and a lot of information.
Well, there is. There's a lot of serious things going on, but yeah.
Well, so we're going to get on with the show right after this.
Before we get started today, though, let's remember our sponsor. Today, our sponsor is Brickhouse Nutrition. And one of the great products that Brickhouse Nutrition has is Field of Greens, your daily dose of vibrant nutrition, packed with organic greens, fruits, and vegetables. Each scoop delivers essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Simply mix with water or add to your favorite smoothie for a refreshing boost of vitality. Fuel your body with the goodness it craves. Experience the power of Field of Greens and thrive every day.
I love Field of Greens. I have some myself. I use it every single day. It gives me energy. After I get through drinking my coffee, of course, I have a green drink, and I love it, and I put it in my green drink. It's part of it, and they have different flavors. I have the wild berry, so check them out. Thank you to our sponsors and for you for clicking on the link below. Get you some Field of Greens. You'll feel better for it.
It's www.brickhousenutrition.com. All right, well, before we start our show today, as always, we want to state these are our opinions. They're our assertions. We have them. We own them. If you agree with us, you tell your friends, you share the show. And, hey, if you don't agree with us, you still go ahead and tell your friends, share the show. Also, stomp that like button. Please follow or subscribe wherever you see the name Is This Thing Working? Also, you can get to every show and every podcast on our website, www.is-this-thing-working.com. So check us out. Thank you for helping Denise and I grow. And hey, don't forget, download the Rumble app so you can follow the show. You'll receive instant notifications when we go live. And we do go live every Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Rumble. Thank you all very much. Let's get on with the show.
Let's do this. Trump Watch. Today is the second day of deliberations of the jury in his hush money blackmail trial is what I call it.
Man, I tell you what, there's a lot more being exposed than just the non-crime that they're accusing him of. A lot is being exposed.
Yes, and as the jury deliberates on the verdict in the Trump hush money trial, I wouldn't have been shocked if this body got deadlocked. Judge Merchan decided to tilt the scales, offering confusing instructions and guidelines to the jurors and setting up a fertile ground for an appeal should things go sideways. One thing is clear, the American people do not care, and they don't. There have been polls after polls after polls.
Yeah, that show that none of this has changed people's opinion one bit.
Not at all.
Well, we seen a little segment on Fox the other day where it said 46% before the first witness testimony, and now that it's come down to where it is now in this stage of the trial, it's still the same 46%. Honestly, I wish it would be more of a percentage on the side that goes, man, this is wrong. This is jacked up. You know what I mean?
And you wonder who they polled, because I believe that more people than that are not tuned in. It's totally backfiring on the Democrats anyway.
Well, sure it is, because it's absurd. The entire thing is. And even CNN, even them, they're saying the quiet part out loud. They're breaking it down. They're saying that the left's attempt to damage Donald Trump through weaponizing the legal system, it's backfired on them. And they see it for the disgusting and absurd thing that it is.
Yes, and everyone knows it. Even the Democrats are coming out. Axios came out with this article this morning saying the quiet part out loud. Biden not banking on a Trump conviction to win.
What did I say yesterday?
That's exactly what you said. That was one of your predictions, is they were going to, because everyone knows, guilty verdict for Donald Trump in New York hush money trial would be unprecedented in presidential history. But even Biden's team isn't sure it would matter come November.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
So.
And that's the thing, just like what, and I know they've got to be seeing this, everything they've tried, it just makes it stronger. It just makes President Trump stronger. It just exposes them more and more and more.
And the more they're exposed, the more the people are turning to MAGA. Just a reminder, this isn't the only case going on right now with President Trump. He has the documents case, the January 6th case in D.C., and the Georgia case, the one with Fannie Willis.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of these have been put on hold because of the very important cases at the Supreme Court. And one of them is the immunity case.
Yep.
And then the January 6th, that case that is going on that they're still deliberating, I'm assuming, 1512.
The 1512, yeah. C2.
That his January 6th case in D.C. can't even go forward till that one's finished.
Exactly.
Until that one's come out. And then we heard before we came on the show today that the Supreme Court dropped their cases, and neither one of these cases...
They dropped their opinions.
I'm sorry. They dropped their opinions.
Right.
And neither one of them was these cases that they are just needing. They need these cases now so they can continue to put President Trump through the ringer in all these trials. They need them bad. And, you know, because they need them bad, guess what they're doing to the Supreme Court justices?
Just like they always do. If the left doesn't get their way, what do? They turn and attack.
They do.
You know, talking about the Supreme Court cases and the immunity cases, too, and even with everything else, Dan Bongino got an opportunity yesterday to interview President Trump, and we watched that last night. It came live at 6:30 last night. And he began to ask him, he talked to him about personnel changes, and he talked to him about these things, the things that President Trump knows that he made a mistake on the last time that he was in office, and he did. He made some bad personnel choices. But then Bongino began to talk to him about his Supreme Court cases coming up. And this was an interesting part of the interview right here. I want y'all to hear this.
Real great patriot there. He put out a very interesting the thread this morning on his social media accounts talking about how the Supreme Court, and we don't know yet what's going to happen, but if there is a ridiculous conviction in this sham, disgusting, filth-ridden, grotesque trial, I don't have enough adjectives and adverbs to describe this abomination, that the Supreme Court should take this thing immediately on due process violations. They've yet to state a crime, no less prove beyond a reasonable doubt you committed one. Your thoughts on that and the left's attempts right now to intimidate the Supreme Court going after Alito and others? They're clearly doing that to send a message in case this winds up at the Supreme Court.
Well, they're trying to play the ref. Alito's a tough guy, and he's strong and very, very smart. And he put out a great statement today. In fact, I commented on it. I don't know if you saw that on Truth. Your people love truth, and so do I. And but I commented on it. I gave him a lot of credit for it. But they play the ref. You know, they intimidate him. They still, to this day, you know, by law, they have to give. You can't have protesters. You can't around their houses. You can't. They haven't done a thing. They haven't done a thing. What they're doing is so bad. They haven't done anything to protect the justices. It's really disgraceful what's going on. You know, all that we heard about it for 2 years. But Alito's great, Thomas great. The three that I put in, I think they do it. I mean, it's a little early, but people are starting to warm up to him. I will say this, but they've got to be strong and they've got to be tough. Alito's been very tough, very good, and Thomas has been good. And we're going to see how it all works out. But it's such an important position, such a big deal. But when I look at the way they're treated, you know, they play the ref. They try and scare them. They try and, look, they're humans like everybody else, but they try and do Bobby Knight. You know, the great Bobby Knight. He'd scream, scream, scream. And Bobby said, well, you're not going to win this one, but we'll win the next call, right? Yeah. And that's what they do with our judges. Not only the Supreme Court justices, but they do it with judges, and they do it with a lot of different people. They do it with a lot of different people where they're afraid to function. People are afraid to function because they don't want to go through it. But and the problem is the left. Look, you know, the problem is the left. I know the left, I know the right. The big problem here, they don't talk about it. The problem is the left, and the big danger comes from the left.
The most important thing President Trump did for America is to keep the Supreme Court constitutional.
Exactly.
But he said a lot in there. I mean, there was a lot to unpack right there. And one of the things that he talked about was the due process.
Mm-hmm. And Judge Merchan has done that. He has violated his First Amendment rights. He's violated his due process rights. every bit of that, man. If this trial goes to a guilty conviction and in the appeal process, President Trump can take this to the Supreme Court with due process violations. What's your takeaway on that?
Well, his due process has totally been just walked all over. He wasn't allowed to bring forth a lot of evidence in this case whatsoever. His due process rights have been destroyed, and our Constitution tells you straight out that you have the right to due process.
Exactly.
So I don't know, and I'm not for sure how the law works on that, because people get due process because that's what we do in America.
It's the backbone of our judicial system. That's
right.
Yeah.
So it probably will have to go through all the appeals courts first before it even makes it to the Supreme Court, unless he, goes straight to the Supreme Court and says, hey, you need to do something about this.
Judge Alito seems to be pretty strong. Do you think he maintains? I think he does.
I do. I think he does.
Yeah.
He what I thought was crucial. It was crucial that he refused, and he did. Alito refused his call to recuse himself from January 6 cases. I'm getting my information from Washington Times. It says he rejects calls to recuse himself from cases related to the January 6, 2021 U.S. Capitol protest. In a letter to Congress on Wednesday, he said the flying of an upside-down American flag and an appeal to heaven pennant at his homes were his wife's decision, and that he's not biased in any dispute. My wife is fond of flying flags. I am not. My wife was solely responsible for having flagpoles put up at our residence and our vacation home, and has flown a wide variety of flags over the years, he said in his letter to the top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chairman Richard J. Durbin.
Yeah, he goes on to say, and I love this, what he said. He said, my wife is an independently minded private citizen. She makes her own decisions, and I honor her right to do so, he added. A reasonable person who is not motivated by political or ideological considerations or a desire to affect the outcome of the Supreme Court cases would conclude that this event does not meet the applicable standard for recusal. I am therefore duty-bound to reject your recusal request.
Good
I love that.
I do too.
And, a lot of people could look at that at the very first couple of paragraphs, and especially like what you read, and go, damn, he's throwing his wife under the bus. But you know what? He's not. What he's doing is standing up for his wife and saying that she is a strong, independent, free-thinking woman, and she loves what she does, and there ain't a damn thing wrong with it. So, excuse my French, all of you can kiss my ass.
Right.
Basically what he said, and I love that, man.
Yeah, I love that too. When I was reading all the comments on social media, Democrats, bots. I mean, it's so bad. This is their narrative that they're coming out with. They say, Alito stands up for his wife, but does not stand up for other women because he voted against Roe versus Wade. So you see the mindset of the left, how they can't stand it if you stand up for your wife. I mean, his wife obviously is independent.
You know why? It's because they hate what is honorable and good. They hate that.
They do hate that. And they got to continue to bring up and run and think that people care that much about Roe versus Wade. And people aren't caring about it no more. You know why? Because President Trump did what he said he was going to do, and he took it right back. He had the Supreme Court justices take it right back to the states. And so the states are taking care of it.
And that's the absurdity of their entire relevance to Roe versus Wade or anything like that, because it has nothing to do on the federal level anymore.
Nope.
That's
and
already
they
been
can't stand
they
it.
can't. That's exactly right.
They can't stand it. Well, Justice Alito was very strong and is very strong, and so is Justice Thomas. He has been too. He's been through the ringer too. Same thing with his wife, because his wife, was there January 6th. I mean, she was involved in a lot of things that went on in the protest.
Yes.
I mean, she raised money and but you're allowed. The wives are allowed to do whatever. The Democrats, I'm sure, have their own stuff, but the one person that really kind of, I guess, gets my burr up here, because now they're going after Barrett. Mm-hmm. Amy Coney Barrett. And when they go after her, she is not as strong.
Right.
You know, and she has proven that by other cases that she has voted with the Democrats on, you know, because she has proven that. And what has come out now is, and why this even matters, but it does to the Democrats. And Rolling Stones wants to come out with this exclusive. And the headline is all we need to read. Amy Coney Barrett's husband is representing Fox in a lawsuit.
And you say that you don't know why this should matter, and it does matter to the Democrats. Honestly, this should matter to all people, because what this shows then is that there is a vested interest in Fox News by who? In her immediate family. In a lot of ways, that's the same kind of thing that we got going on with Judge Merchan and his daughter. Same instance. There again, what's Fox News get out of this by having this relationship here? You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true.
Think about this and the way Fox News has become. Shannon Bream got tore up yesterday because she come out basically anti-Trump. Yeah, and here's this exchange between her and Trump's lawyer.
But the Biden administration's not responsible for this trial.
How can you say the Biden administration's not responsible for this trial?
It's a state trial. It's Alvin Bragg. Whether you think there's a political motive for him, it's not connected to the DOJ. I mean,
Shannon,
the feds passed on these election charges.
Shannon, you should look at how many logs they have of state officials, Letitia James, Fannie Willis, visiting the White House, and then tell me that this is not a Biden trial. I don't care.
The feds pass on this case is the point I'm
You're
making.
right. The feds passed on this case. Also, DA Cy Vance passed on this case. And
Years
frankly,
ago, and then it came back.
And Bragg passed on this case. You know when it came back? When he decided to run for office. So tell me how that's not an indication that Joe Biden, who just sent his campaign down here with Robert De Niro yesterday, isn't a part of this. Frankly, any question that we had of that was squashed yesterday. And if you have even more concerns about whether he's involved in this, look at the fact that he is publicizing, literally publicizing, for tonight to have a speech if a verdict comes out. That's a sad state of affairs. Meanwhile, our country is falling apart. He's got.
There you go. You have it right there.
There you go. And it just keeps going, because then you've got Jamie Raskin trying to explain how the DOJ can force Justice Alito and Thomas to both recuse themselves, even after Judge Alito has sat here and stated his case that we all know there's no requirement for a recusal here based on what you're trying to say. But so you get somebody like Raskin involved. Here we go. More attack.
Yes. In this article on Raw Story, they go into it here, and it says Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito remains determined to weigh in on cases pertaining to the January 6th insurrection and the 2020 presidential election, despite the controversy over 2 flags carried by insurrectionists being displayed outside 2 of his homes. First of all, nowhere in any court has anybody been charged with insurrection.
There you go.
Nowhere. So the fact that they even use insurrection is wrong and a complete lie. And so Justice Samuel Alito doesn't need to recuse himself of flags
anything
being carried by insurrection, because this is untrue. It didn't happen, you know. But what's so scary about this is the fact that now he argued that Jamie Raskin, from the Democrat from Maryland, he argued in a New York Times op-ed that Garland, in conjunction with the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia and appointed special counsel and Solicitor General Elizabeth Prologar, which is the DOJ official who is tasked with making arguments before the Supreme Court, can petition the other 7 justices to require Justices Alito and Thomas to recuse themselves, not as a matter of grace, but as a matter of law. Now, do you understand exactly why they went to Barrett next?
Yep.
Because they are going to strong arm the rest of the justices, because, you know, Bannon has pointed this out many, many times. He has said that they are wanting to shorten the Supreme Court. They want to make it smaller so that they have more of a chance to get their laws and, unconstitutional laws to pass.
Yeah.
You know, they need people to not follow the Constitution.
Yeah. You mean they're not trying to shorten it, but they're trying to narrow the gap between the conservative side and the liberal side. I get what you're saying. But the way they're wanting to do that is by adding more justices so that they can stack the deck back the other direction.
Well, since they can't do that, and the American people are against that, they're trying to do it the other way. You know, if they can get rid of two of the top conservative constitutional judges, then the others who they have noticed swing either way, they'll have more of a chance.
Okay, I follow you now. I see what you're saying. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that is where they're going with this. That's what they're doing their best to get rid of the top two.
Okay.
That they need to get rid of.
Experience the ultimate shipping solution with Easy Ship. Are you tired of navigating complex logistics and wasting valuable time? Say goodbye to the stress of shipping and hello to simplicity with Easy Ship. Our intuitive platform allows you to compare rates from leading carriers, schedule pickups with ease, and track your shipments in real time, all in one place. Whether you're a small business owner looking to optimize your shipping process or an individual sending a gift to a loved one, Easy Ship has you covered. Our user-friendly interface puts the power of efficient shipping at your fingertips, saving you time and money. Don't let shipping challenges hold you back. Try Easy Ship today and discover a new level of convenience and reliability. Visit EasyShip.com now to get started.
Click the link below. Yesterday, the Attorney General for Texas was on WarRoom, and he was on the phone with Steve Bannon. And I want you to listen to this audio right now. It's shocking. Listen all the way to the end.
The impeachment, that's how I got all this other garbage that happened to me. It's because I decided, you know what, I'm going to find out what happened here. I'm going to find out the truth.
Hang on. I want to go back and hit rewind on this. We're sitting here in the day after this historic runoff that came from a historic primary, that came from a historic impeachment, that's basically brought to the attention of people how the Bush establishment still runs Texas, although it's a MAGA state. And you're saying that this all began years before when you got information that you should start an investigation of the FBI or had to start an investigation of the FBI, and then they came immediately. They knew beforehand and came. Walk us through it. Take your time.
Yep. They were. This was 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, this summer. We got a referral from the Travis County DA to investigate the FBI for corruption, FBI and Department of Justice both, and for violating federal and state law. I didn't even know about it. It got referred. My head of law enforcement didn't even put it into the system, which is highly unusual. I've never heard of it. He didn't even let anybody know. And I found out from the complainant. The complainant called me and said, hey, how come no one's called me about this investigation? I should be interviewed by somebody. I said, what are you talking about? He told me about the referral, how he filed it with Travis and they referred it to us. So I track it down, and I'm told by my head of law enforcement, I'm told by my top guys, we're not investigating them. And I said, why? And they said, because law enforcement cannot commit a crime.
Huh?
And I said, what do you mean? We don't investigate law enforcement because it's not possible for them to commit a crime. That was what I was told by David Maxwell, who was head of my law enforcement. And then I went to my first assistant. I said, we got to fire that guy. And he goes, I can't. And I said, why? And he said, because he threatened me. And he said, if I did what you wanted me to do, I investigated them, they would come after me like the FBI and Department of Justice are going to come after you.
Holy hell. Did you hear what he said? He said, we're going to investigate the FBI. And then the people above him says, no, you're not, because law enforcement doesn't commit crimes. That, people, is the attitude of the people that we are sitting here expecting justice and fairness and due process. That.
Yes. I mean, when I heard this, I was totally stunned. It is out of control, our Justice Department. And that goes back to that article that we were talking about with Raskin and how he's going to the DOJ. And the DOJ, obviously, they think that they are the boss, and that's it. There is no crime. And they did the same thing to Ken Paxton, and they took him all the way to impeachment.
Through the ringer. Yes, they did.
Through the ringer. And they're still behind it. They're still, these people that won in their districts, you know, they're there because the FBI wants them there.
Yeah. And think about this, man. You know, we watched the whole impeachment of Ken Paxton, and we seen that how, just like with this, there was really no evidence of any crime that he committed that was impeachment worthy. And you go, well, damn, it's all Dade Phelan's fault. He brought all this up. And maybe he did. But, man, the corruption and the hugeness and the complete deep state machine was way bigger than Dade Phelan. Dade Phelan was just a tool they used. But for them to come out when you're telling an attorney general, you can't do nothing about it, that blows my mind. People, we're in a police state. That is what we're in. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, this is really scary. You know, the FBI cannot be sued. Law enforcement
doesn't commit crime.
Yeah, that's so. But then on the other hand, the Democrats are always suing the cops.
Right? Make it make sense.
Is this thing working?
Rise up. Well, hey, everybody, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've learned some things about what's going on around us in the nation and in your communities. You know, we couldn't do this without your continued support either. We appreciate all of you showing up, taking the time to listen to us today. So please, like I say, make sure to hit the like button, share our show with all your friends. We'll see you next time on Is This Thing Working? And as always, I'm James, and that's my lovely co-host over there,
Denise.
And we'll see you next time.
We're out.